Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and leadership. We're helping you connect the dots, see the blind spots, and get unstuck so you can go out and create more growth, create more sales, create more profits. More importantly, so you can go out and have a bigger impact, have a bigger reach, and make a bigger contribution. Is that what you want? If that's what you want, then you are going to love today's episode, today's guest expert who's uniquely qualified to talk to you about the concept of masterminding. His name is Aaron Walker. He's a repeat guest. He's founded more than a dozen companies over the last 41 years. He attributes a lot of his success to surrounding with mastermind partners or mentors, people like Dave Ramsey. You probably heard of him, right? Dan Miller, Ken Abraham, and all kinds of amazing entrepreneur. He's the founder of Sharpens, which is a mastermind that hosts 15 groups with national, international members. He's the author of View from the Top. If his name sounds a little familiar, if you've been with us for a while, that's probably like ringing in your head. Why? Because if you go to growthtofreedom.com/115, that's growthtofreedom.com/115 and growthtofreedom.com/28, you will find that he's been a guest of ours before. He is also the founder of the Mastermind Playbook, which is an incredible resource for starting, running, and scaling masterminds. Now, you might be asking yourself, why masterminds? I keep hearing about masterminds. They're everywhere. Well, what makes this unique? Why it works and how it can really work for you, not only as a student, but also as part of your business model. Aaron, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Dan, I hope I can measure up to that introduction right there. But, man, you are awesome. Thank you. I don't get many opportunities to be three-peats, and so you've been so gracious to have me on. So I've been so looking forward to being your guest this afternoon. Thank you.
Well, same here. And it's easy to say yes because of all the great, amazing things you're doing, Aaron. And, I want to dive right into it, right? For those of our listeners, our viewers who don't know about Aaron Walker and what you're up to, like, why are you doing what you're doing today with Iron Sharpens Iron and Masterminds?
You know, about 9 years ago, I retired. I said for the final time. My wife said, yeah, right. I'll believe it when it happens. Robin and I celebrate 40 years this year of marriage. And she said, you're working harder today than you've worked in our entire message, but in our entire I can't even talk. I'm so excited for being your guest. I've got starstruck for being on your show of marriage, 40 years of marriage. And the reason is because it's making a significant difference in the lives of the participants. And, I went to my mastermind group you mentioned earlier with Dave Ramsey and Dan Miller and some of those guys. And they said, what are you going to do now that you're retiring? And I said, nothing. I'm like finished. And they said, you're way too young to quit. You need to really think about coaching and teaching other people how to live a life of success and significance. And so I did, and started coaching one-on-one, started doing some podcast interviews, and then quickly realized I had landed in my zone of genius, if you will. And that was helping encourage other people to be all that they could be. So you're right. We have 15 groups of men. We have 3 groups of women. And we've recently launched a group for emerging men, 20 to 25 years old. So we're soon to launch our 19th mastermind group. And I'm probably getting more encouragement and satisfaction out of this. I could sit here the rest of the afternoon and talk about all of our businesses. This is our 14th business, but I don't really want to do that. I want us to talk about masterminds and being in community and how it can impact the lives of your listeners.
So let's dive into it. This term mastermind gets thrown out there a lot today, right? And like for you, what is a mastermind? What is it not?
First of all, what it's not is group coaching. And a lot of people don't want to start masterminds today because they don't think they have all the answers. And it's a myth. It's the perception of masterminds that, I get a bunch of people together and they come in the group and they sit at my feet and I give them the sage wisdom. Well, that's not really what masterminds are. It's the benefit of collectively of everyone in the group. What you're doing is presenting a framework. You're hosting the group, and the benefit comes from all the interaction from everyone. Now, let me just say this. A lot of people did join our mastermind originally because it was my group and they wanted to join, but quickly they get in and they see the value of the other people. It's simply this, and there's all kind of fancy definitions as to what masterminds are, where two or more minds gather together, it forms a third. You know, you hear all that. But what the truth is it's a board of advisors. It's non-biased, trusted advisors that can come together and know you exactly long-term and can help you make decisions. Dan, if I were to come into your business today and you and I have had a casual relationship, not an intimate relationship, but if I were to come into you today and you were to ask me, Big A, what should I do about this? And you give me a scenario. Well, without a lot of background information, without it knowing your goals, without knowing your core values, your mission statement, without knowing where you've been and where you want to go, I couldn't fairly offer advice. And that's what the mastermind does. They know your history. The guy that I go and see regularly and have been for 20 years now did a study on my life. And he said, every 36 to 48 months, you do something radical. You either buy a business, you sell a business, you know, you buy a property, you sell a property, you do something big. And he said, the reason is you're a creator, developer. You're not a maintainer, manager. Well, without having the privy of all that information, he can't help me in the future. He doesn't know what mine and Robin's objectives are for our life. He doesn't know how I think. He doesn't know how I process things. That's what a mastermind gives you. Then you can come in, you can share with them what you're trying to accomplish, and they can give you good advice.
And speaking of good advice, Aaron, like what have you seen? I mean, I have my own view of it. I believe in masterminds and have invested hundreds of thousands, close to millions of dollars in all kinds of different versions of masterminds, consulting, advising, etc. Like, what have you seen, like the transformation, the breakthroughs that people get as a result of this kind of intimate, you know, working of getting a board of trusted advisors together to help put focus on you and whatever it is that you have an issue with to help get to that next level?
Sure.
Speak to that a little bit.
I'll take it to a real intimate situation. So first of all, these mastermind groups that we're referring to, a lot of them are group coaching, and they've mislabeled them into being masterminds, where you come in for 6 weeks and you have somebody that's instructing for 60 minutes or 90 minutes. That is group coaching. For us, it's 60% professional, 30% personal, and 10% spiritual. That's the way we've broken it down. Because, Dan, I came home one time with a pocket full of money to a house full of strangers, and I almost lost my family as a result of chasing business. And I love business. I love to grow them. Obviously, we've owned 14 of them. But if I come home one day with that pocket full of money to a house full of strangers, I still end up a loser. And I don't want people to end up a loser, right? They've sacrificed their family at the altar of money, and they don't even know who their wife is. They don't know who their little boy's baseball coach is, and they haven't been to their little girl's piano recital in years, and they don't know anything about their education and what's going on. They just provide a shelter and they provide resources for their family. Well, that's not really being the dad that you were called to be. That's not really being the husband that you were called to be. And so what we try to encourage, that we help you in every area of your life. We try to help you set boundaries. And Dan, I know you're a hardworking guy, but if you're working from 4 in the morning to 9 at night, it doesn't leave much room to do anything else. And we try to establish those boundaries. If there's some kind of substance abuse that's going on, whether you're numbing yourself with alcohol or prescription drugs or whatever the case may be, or maybe you're traveling out of town and you're misbehaving, right? Your wife wouldn't be real excited about the type of behavior that's being performed, or you're not spending time with your children and educating them and nurturing them from a father's perspective. You'll be successful from the world's perspective, but from your home, you're not going to be successful. Let's look at the statistics. 55% of all marriages end in divorce. Well, there's a reason for that. And so we help you really take a self-evaluation, a personal assessment of your personal life. And then the personal things that you're involved in, and then the spiritual aspect, there's a component. Many people are more spiritual than others, but it is a component of our lives. And so we focus on all these. We have very strict accountability tools that we use. It's a digital process where there's 10 questions that we ask you every single week, and you answer those yes or no. I did or I didn't do it. The other thing is the upper limit challenges that we're faced with. We all have upper limit challenges, regardless of how much money you have, regardless of how much success. And I've been in the room with a lot of very, very successful guys for a long time. But privately, they'll tell you, I don't really know what to do next. Like, this is the first time I've been in this position or this situation. I've had the distinct privilege of walking with Dave Ramsey for 28 years. Dave and I've been very close friends. I was his second sponsor, and I sponsored his show 21 consecutive years. So the first time I met Dave, there were 3 employees. Well, today they have 957, and they're about to build their second headquarters. They already outgrown it. They've only been in it about 6 months. He's growing at a very fast pace. But I've been behind the scenes where he said, I'm not sure what I should do. You know, I mean, like, Dave has got a lot of answers. He doesn't have all the answers, no more than you do or no more than I do. So when you know somebody intimately, you can walk alongside them and you can say, hey man, that sounds really good, but if you would consider this aspect, we only have one life experience. We only have one set of filters. And when we're too close to the bottle, we can't read the label, right? And other people see you differently than you see yourself. I had a real problem with being arrogant and condescending when I was in my 30s, because I was a very poor kid at 18 years old. I sold my first business at 27 years old, and I thought, I'm the golden kid. I can do anything. And I started becoming very condescending to a lot of people, and my friends got around me and they said, listen, that's not going to serve you well long term. I would embellish things. I said, I'm not embellishing. I'm just making it interesting. And my friend said, listen, people are not going to trust you long term if you don't tell it exactly right. Well, it takes time, and you don't earn that right in a quick period of time. You earn that right over time. And that's what the masterminds give you. So it's countless. It's limitless at the benefits of being around the same people for an extended period of time.
And as you're listening or watching right now, like, what would it be worth to you to have somebody or a group of people working side by side, walking with you to help you hit those upper limit breakthroughs, to help you identify the upper limit issues, the problems, the dangers, the threats? Would it be worth to have somebody that truly knows what works for you, what serves you, what doesn't, right? And call out the truth. The first progress starts by telling the truth, doesn't it? That's just a snapshot of some of what masterminding can be. What about, being able to tune in on your business, personal, right? The spiritual side of things, right? If you give your family, your kids, your wife leftovers, well, how's that going to show up in your business? It will. It may have a lag time for a couple months, maybe even a couple years, but it will catch up, won't it? And what is that costing you by not getting it right? Well, when we come back, we're going to take a deeper dive into the power of mastermind, some of the discoveries that Aaron's made, what he's learned working with and mentoring and serving over 15 groups, working also side by side with some of the greats like Dave Ramsey, Dan Miller, Ken Abraham, and a whole lot more. That on growthtofreedom.com right after this. Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day, or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Now, Aaron, I want to dive right back into it. I mean, because, masterminding, again, is something that, we both believe in and have for a long, long time, either on purpose or on accident. I think in many ways it comes from being a servant leader. Speak to the idea that at times it's really smart to be a good follower to learn how to be a great leader. Speak to that and how it applies in masterminds.
Yeah, great question to ask. And one of the things that I did early on when I was in my 20s and 30s, my focus was solely on me. And Dan, from previous interviews that in 2001, I had a horrific automobile accident where I ran over and killed a pedestrian on my way to the office. And what I realized out of that is that I was a taker. I wasn't a giver. And so what I've concentrated on since 2001 is being the giver, not the taker, because my legacy would have been poor kid from Nashville, Tennessee, makes enough money to retire at age 27 and nobody cares. And I said, man, I don't want that to be my legacy. What I want my legacy to be is Dan's life is better as a result of having interacted with me. And so I changed that to a servant's mentality. Now, I don't mean a doormat. I mean, I'm a ruthless businessman, right? That's not what I'm talking about. But I want to help you accomplish your goals and your dreams. And as a result of that, you're the person that wants to serve me because of it. The natural reciprocity is to serve those that are being served. Are some people going to take advantage of you? Absolutely. That's just the cost and the nature of doing business. But the truth is we're far more successful financially today than we've ever been, but we're 100x times significance breathing into the lives of others, helping them accomplish their goals and dreams. So you do need to be that servant leader. You need to be somebody that helps propel them to the next level. Now, the best thing that you can do in these initially is to listen, to be quiet, you know, and I've led a lot of organizations and had a young guy come up to me one day and he said, I feel like I need to add more into the meetings. And I say, if you've got something to say, then say it. But if you're just talking to hear yourself talk, to think you're adding value, we got enough people like that, right? Add value when you should add value. But listen, you know, God gifted us with 2 ears, right? And 1 mouth. There's a reason for that. We need to be listening twice as much as we're talking. And I think that's what you're lending yourself towards when you ask about how can we be a great servant leader.
And, you know, there's something to be said, Aaron, right, about the idea of showing up as both a student and a teacher at the same time, or the beneficiary and the benefactor in an environment like this, and having a board of advisors, having trusted advisors, you know, where you contribute and get value interchangeably, right?
Yeah,
and
you
speak to that a little bit.
You can always be the mentor and the mentee. And we have people in our organization. We've had hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds go through Iron Sharpens Iron. We've even had people in now for 7 years. The same 10 people have been meeting in the same group every Monday, 2 o'clock for 7 years. And the value is just exponentially greater each and every year because they know each other better. They have shared experiences. They're now going in business with each other together. They're traveling together. Their wives are getting to know each other better. And it's just the value of being long-term. And so what I would just encourage you to do, to think through what it is that you're looking for or what it is that you're missing. And I say that isolation is the enemy to excellence. If you really want your life to go to the next level, God created us to be in community. And you can't be all that you could be alone. No one's had tremendous success alone in isolation. And I know for me, I've had so many opportunities to do great things, but to get to the point to where I make the best choice, it takes those non-biased, trusted advisors to surround me to help me make those decisions. Many, many people are very successful today, but they don't have those trusted advisors. They don't have people around them that can help them make the tough decisions. A lot of people say, things are good for me. Well, things are not always going to be good for you. And if you're not investing the time and energy now in people and giving, when it's your turn, there's going to be no one there.
And speaking of, you know, being able to give, add value, show up a certain way, Aaron, you know what, you know, whether it's your community, Iron Sharpens Iron, right, where you've worked with 15 groups, hundreds and hundreds
Right.
of people, or even a local church community, what do you see are some of the big mistakes that people make when they get involved in a community, a group, or in this case, a mastermind? What's the big mistake there?
I think the biggest mistake is they try to go too fast. They try to get an exponential return right out of the gate. And the thing, I'm a long-term thinker. Like, I started planning for retirement when I was 18 years old, when I first started my first business, making contributions to my retirement. I think in decades. I don't think in weeks or months. And that's really served me well long-term because I delay gratification for the greater good later. Dan, when I first started my first company, I took an $18,000 salary for 9 years. I could have lived a much nicer lifestyle, bought a much bigger house, driven a much nicer car. But because I put the money back into the company, we grew it. We bought other locations through acquisition, and then I was able to sell to a Fortune 500. It's the same way in these groups. If you're expecting a return right out of the gate, you're going to be sorely disappointed because there's a trust factor. They've got to get to know you better, and you've got to get to know them better. Then you earn the right to breathe life into someone. Recently, I had a guy was on a call, and he's a great guy. He's been with me 3 years, and he said something that was pretty crass that he should have never really said. And we got off the call, and before I could call him, he texted me and he said, "Hey, I messed up. I know I messed up." So I called him and I said, "Hey, let's talk just for a moment." He said, "Okay." I said, "But I'm going to do all the talking. I want you to listen for about 20 minutes. And he said, "Okay." So I continued to go down this trail saying what I've seen in him over the past 3 years, how I've seen this divergent from what he was to what he is now. His disposition, his attitude had changed. He'd become angrier. And I pointed back to a specific time in his career. And I said, "This is when it took place." And you know what he said? I thought to myself, he's either going to quit or he's going to be very grateful. He said, "I'm very grateful that you're telling me this. I've recognized it as well, but now you've clarified it, and I want you to help me fix it." See, if he hadn't have been in the group for a number of years, I didn't have that permission. I couldn't have said those difficult things to him. On the same note, there was a guy recently paying his dues. He was only showing up about 50% of the time. And I let this go on for about 3 or 4 months. And I called him and I said, "I'm asking you to resign from the group." He said, "I'm paying my dues." I said, "It's not about paying your dues. Other men are coming to the group to hear what you have to say. You're only there 50% of the time. You don't do the accountability tool. You're not reading the books. You're not coming to the live events. You're adding no value. And we are paying money to hear what you have to say, and you're not there. I'm asking you to resign." And he did. See, if you don't show up, you don't participate, you can't add value to other people. So I would just suggest that when you do get in a group, whether it's my group or any other group, invest the energy, do the homework, do the reps. I can give you the framework, but if you don't do the work, you're not going to get the benefit.
And speaking of the work, one of the key pieces, and there are several, not only in your program, but in others, is accountability, right, Aaron? Speak to the idea of accountability. Also, give a glimpse of what is in your mind accountability. What is it not? Because there's a lot of people preaching accountability when it's really not accountability.
Well, yeah, the truth is we can only be held accountable if we want to be held accountable, right? You can't impose accountability on anyone. They're not going to receive it. So we ultimately have to hold ourselves accountable. But where the tool really is beneficial is Dan, if I were to tell you today, I'm going to exercise 3 days a week. I actually am exercising 5 or 6 days a week now because of my accountability partners. They said, "Big A, if you're going to last long term, you're going to have to stay in shape. And the only way you can do that is watch your diet and exercise." Well, Dan, I'll just go on record. I hated initially to exercise, right? It's something that I've never been really good at, but I'm almost 60 now. And so I have to start paying attention to it. I've got a lot of people depending and counting on me. Every day they would send that text message. "Did you exercise? Did you exercise? Did you exercise?" Well, I didn't want to go, "No, Big A's a loser," so I didn't exercise. I wanted to say, "Yes, I did." Well, now I've been exercising since October. This is March when we're recording this. So I've exercised 3 to 6 times a week since October. I've hired a trainer. I love it now. Even after this interview, I'm going to the gym because now it's like I'm looking forward to it. I'm getting the benefit. I'm seeing the benefit. I'm feeling better. That would not have happened had I not had accountability. I would have still been like, "No, I'll find something else to do." There's so many areas today on a call. I'll give you latest today. There was one of the questions is, would your family be pleased with everything that you're watching on TV or looking at on the internet? Well, this guy is an upstanding guy. He's got money to burn. I mean, it's not a problem for him, finances. But today he came on the call and he said, "I was out of town this week. And just to be honest with you, nobody would have been pleased with something that I watched online while I was gone." I texted him afterwards and I said, "Hey, what's the deal?" He said, "I was tired. I was alone. There was nobody there, and I just made a mistake." And the accountability tool is the reason that he fessed up. He said, I want to be honorable. I want to tell you the truth. Same way with exercising, the way we diet, the way we save money, the way you treat your wife, the way you treat your husband. These questions are on this accountability form, and it may not make you do it. One that we just recently put on there is, are you texting while driving? Uh-oh, boy, that really touches a nerve with a lot of people, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, the thing is that I personally can attest to running over and killing a pedestrian. Okay. Thank God I wasn't doing anything I shouldn't have been doing. He ran out in front of me. He didn't see me coming. But Dan, if I had been texting or I had been distracted, what if it was a little kid on a bicycle, 5 years old, and you're going through a neighborhood and you're texting or checking Facebook, you run over that little kid. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go tell his mom, hey, Facebook or my text couldn't wait, and now you're not going to get to see your little boy get raised. I don't want that on my conscience. And so this accountability is making all these people think about their actions. Ultimately, we want to be responsible people. And all I'll say is accountability helps.
And think about that for yourself. Like, what would happen for you if you had more clarity, more accountability day to day, right? Would it make you perform better? Would you go through some of the upper limits, so to speak, to get to that next level breakthrough? You know, that having that iron sharpening iron to make you better mentally, physically, socially, spiritually, emotionally, financially. What would that be worth for you, right? What would it be worth for you to have that type of clarity and accountability on certain areas of your business, like the marketing you're doing, the sales you're doing, the finance, the operations, and a whole lot more? How would it impact you? That's the power of masterminding. Now, we've just scratched the surface, Aaron.
I got to tell one more quick story. This is worth
awesome.
it. Real quick. A guy called me and he said, hey, Big A, I heard you on a podcast interview and I want to join your mastermind. He said, but your mastermind dues are going to take a lot of my income. And he said, I want to join. And I said, how much do you make? And he told me, and I said, wow. I said, our dues are not that much, but compared to your income, he said, I don't have a choice. He said, everything else I've tried has not worked out well. And I'll just tell you some figures. He said, I'm making $18,000 a year right now. He lives in Alberta, Canada. And he said, I've got to join. I've been following you for years. I love what you teach, your principles, your core values. I love everything you're doing. And I want to join. And I said, this is a big part of your income. He said, I don't have anything left. I've got to do it. In 18 months, his income went from $18,000 a year to $300,000 a year.
Wow.
And the reason it did is because he was intensely focused. He got rid of all the distractions. He got rid of the shiny object syndromes. He narrowed his focus. He got in a niche market, and he did the work every single day. We implemented the Brian Moran 12-week year program, and he implemented that strategy. And in 18 months, doing $300,000 a year. And I said, why didn't you do that before? He said, I didn't have the accountability. I didn't have the non-biased trusted advisors around me. I didn't have to tell everybody every week what I was doing. I was doing my own thing, and I was procrastinating, and that's our biggest enemy. And he said, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. I'll do it next year. He said, but you guys wouldn't let me up. You made me do it every week. Well, as a result of that, look at the financial gain that he had, plus in many other areas of his life. Listen, that's one of dozens and dozens and dozens that's happened to over the course of being in these mastermind groups. It just gives you that level of focus, Dan.
And if you're looking for that level of focus, I want to encourage you to connect with Aaron, connect with his group, connect with his resources, tools, and more. Aaron, where can people go to learn more about what you're up to?
Well, I appreciate that. We've done two things recently that I think will be impactful to your audience. One is we would love to have you submit an application. If you're a lady, we have an amazing women's group that my wife and my daughter and another lady are heading up. They're having huge success with the women's groups. We have the emerging man. If you're 20 to 25, we have a mastermind that is a reduced price because it's our way of giving back. We want to help you. Or you can join Iron Sharpens Iron Mastermind. The easiest thing to do is to go to viewfromthetop.com, and you can have total access to us there. And if you're saying, hey, yeah, I would love to do masterminds, but I want to start my own. I had people hiring people that were calling, and they were hiring me to teach them to do the mastermind groups. They were paying me ridiculous amounts of money to coach them in doing what we're doing, because we have 19 groups. So we have social proof, and what we're doing works. And my daughter, which is the COO of our company, walked in my office one day and she said, why don't we create a playbook? So it took us a year to create this playbook, our entire team. It is unbelievable, Dan, what we teach you, how to start, grow, and scale your own mastermind. There's 30 professional videos. There's 90 worksheets and tools and lead magnets and courses within the playbook. And if you want to do it on your own, 2 groups, listen to this. Here's what's cool. 2 groups of 10 people in a group is a 6-figure income. 2 groups, 20 people, 6-figure income. I can't tell you how many people, podcast hosts, coaches, thought leaders, are adding this on, and I'm teaching them exactly to do what we've done. Any of those things, reach out to me at viewfromthetop.com or go to themastermindplaybook.com and schedule an appointment with one of our team members, and we'll be happy to discuss with you how you can do that also.
And I want to encourage you to go check out what Aaron's doing. Get access to his groups, his communities, his masterminds, viewfromthetop.com. That's viewfromthetop.com. Or if you're looking for a way to add a tool to your business, right, with as little as 20 people, right, and adding 6 figures to your business model, you just might want to take a look at what Aaron can show you at themastermindplaybook.com. That's themastermindplaybook.com. By the way, if you're driving right now, if you're listening right now, all the links to what we're sharing with you will be in the show notes as well. And by the way, you can come back to this episode at growthtofreedom.com/274. That's growthtofreedom.com/274. Aaron, as we wind this down, the story of going from 18,000 to 300,000, right? And a main focus of this weekly accountability, what would you say? Let me speak to the elephant in the room here, right? What someone might be thinking, possibly listening or watching right now and going, well, what about the guilt? What about the shame or the uncertain feeling, of having the spotlight on me, right, for my business, and I'm not measuring up, or I'm not good enough, or in that voice, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, we all have these voices in our head, Dan, that says you're not good enough, you can never measure up. That's just the enemy. It's just a lie. And I hear those things now. I'll lay in bed sometimes at night and I'll go, Robin, what if nobody hires me? What if she goes, would you shut up and go to sleep? I mean, like, are you crazy? Like, you're going to be fine. And I tell people that all the time. We all have those voices in our head. Here's the thing. Here's the danger to me. The danger to me is, what am I missing? What is it that I could do that I'm not? And for me, I don't want to be successful at the wrong thing. And I want to be successful at the right thing. And I always say, you've got to develop a mindset of, I can do this. And it helps you to get around people that encourage you and edify you and lift your arms up and spur you on and to tell me the truth. And I'm fearful of missing an opportunity more than I'm fearful of failure. So if you have a mindset of, I can do it, and I fear that I'm going to miss an opportunity if I don't have these trusted advisors that can really get all out of me that I was intended to do to push me. It's why I have a trainer. When I'm laying on that bench and he goes, come on, you got one more, come on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have set this down 2 reps ago. But you know what? It's in that motion that the muscle tears down. And I give it 48 hours to rest, and then I go back and I can do it again. That's what mastermind members do for us. Come on, you got this. You can push through. And it just encourages me to have a team around me that helps me go to that next level. Dan, I wouldn't even be remotely close to the success that I've had without the mastermind members that I've had for 20 years now. And I want every one of your audience to experience the same.
And how would it impact you if you could have the ability to have other peers that can help lift you up, that can help encourage you, that can help you do those extra reps, right, to get to that next level? That's what a mastermind can do. And if you're looking for a way to go to that next level, to break through some of those barriers, maybe if you've hit a plateau, then check out what Aaron has got available at viewfromthetop.com. That's viewfromthetop.com. If you want to add this type of model to your business streams of income, then go check out the mastermindplaybook.com, themastermindplaybook.com. Now, Aaron, what is something I should have asked you that we didn't get a chance to cover in our time so far today?
You know, just don't have the perception that if you do start a mastermind group, that you have to have all the answers. And I equate it to, Dan, if you had a party at your house, you've invited us to your beautiful home, you've introduced us to your beautiful family, you've placed a setting at the table for us to sit down, and people are not looking to you for all the answers. It's all the guests. And that's what you're able to do with the Mastermind Playbook. So I would just encourage you to think logically about what a mastermind group is. And that's where everybody, including the facilitator, participates. And then you too. And I feel like even daily, I need to be paying to be in the group that I host because I learned so much. It's given me the opportunity to meet so many amazing people, the opportunities that I've had to do other businesses, the people that I've hired. It just affords you so many opportunities when you start hosting mastermind groups, when you start participating. When you're in a group with 150 participants like we have, you're in a group of 10, but you have total access. We're in 9 different countries now. It just gives you an introduction to all the states and to other countries. It just opens up. Relationships are our number one asset. And when you've developed so many relationships, it just affords you other opportunities. Stop being in isolation. Get involved in the community. Get involved in a mastermind group, and it'll take your life to new heights.
Isolation is the enemy of excellence. And, you know, think about it. Like, what is it costing you if you lean your ladder on the wrong wall? Wouldn't you want to find out what the right ladder or what right wall of success is? Save the time, save the money. That's what a mastermind can help you do. And if you want to get access to someone who's got a diverse background, over 150 members, right, who still keeps it intimate, hasn't forgotten his roots, forgotten where he's come from, and is a student of his process, and go check out what Aaron has put together for you at viewfromthetop.com. That's theviewfromthetop.com. Aaron, I like to shift things in a more personal basis as well. You know, I think one of the greatest masterminds we all have to a degree is at home when we have the right relationship. You brought up Robin numerous times, not only in this show, but also some of our previous interviews as well. Speak to the mastermind that you have with Robin, what it's meant for you. I mean, you know, that time that you shared the story in a previous segment where you went more into detail about the accident and overcoming that. Like, what was it like with Robin? What did she do for you to help you transform and get through that experience?
Yeah. Well, I hope I can make this through emotional because Robin is very near and dear to my heart. Obviously, she's my biggest advocate. Robin and I started dating in high school. 2 weeks after we graduated, we got married. So this coming June will be 40 years that we've been married. Robin has always been there for me to spur me on to whether it was accomplishing something in business or for our family. She's always been, you know, my rock in every situation. But I think that's because we pay each other the same respect. We've built clear boundaries. We've built a framework for our marriage that is uncompromised, the things, the values that we stand for. And Robin and I were Christian by faith. And so our common denominator is Christ. And that's where we go when we have an impasse. That's where we go when there's something in our marriage that we can't work out. We've been very open to counseling, and we have someone that we've been going to for over 20 years, not when just things are bad, but when things are good, because we want to make sure we're maximizing our relationship. Robin will go independent of me. I will of her. Sometimes we'll go together. We just want to be sure that we're living our life to its full potential. Life is an adventure, and I don't want to miss it. We don't get a do-over. I mean, this is it. This is the only opportunity that we've got to really give it all we've got. So if you're married, I want you to look at your spouse the same way, right? And I want you to maximize those opportunities as you go forward and just have a great life. You're going to have ups and downs, but where there's two of you together, you can accomplish so much more than just when you're going it alone. So I would just say great communication, outserve your spouse, and if you can put your faith and confidence in your faith like Robin and I have, I think it will also give you that common denominator that you can go to when times are really tough and situations are really at a crossroads. So for us, Dan, that's the way we've handled our relationship.
I'm curious, when you are being adventurous in your business, maybe to a degree where Robin feels that you're being too adventurous in your business, how does that show up? How does that communication take place?
Well, I appreciate you asking that. And Robin would say it if she were here. She trusts me implicitly to make the decisions for our family. In 41 years now, I'll get her counsel. But at the end of the day, she wants me to make the decision. And she said, you've gotten us this far, and I trust that you'll take care of us for the remainder of our life. I know that you're not going to do anything that's going to adversely affect us to the best of your ability. And so Robin will give me that right. We do pray about decisions that we make. We do consult each other. But as I get older, I will say this, I've got somewhat of a formula. I don't have as long to recover now as I did when I was a young man, right? So I've got to be a little bit more cautious, but there's a percentage of our net worth that we're willing to venture. And I would suggest that would work for most couples, not a dollar amount, but a percentage of your net worth. It's just like investing in the market. There's a certain amount that you will put in bonds and securities. There's a certain percentage that you would invest that would be a little more risky. And so for us, we've just got that percentage that we're willing. I don't want to do anything that's going to knock us out of the saddle. I don't want to do anything. I'll take a rough ride, but I don't want to do anything at this point that will knock us out of our saddle. But she will defer to me on the majority of our business decisions.
And what can you remember, Aaron, has been your toughest business learning lesson, mistake, error that you made, and what'd you learn from it?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we've already been talking about for this hour, is that I thought that I had all the answers. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I was always thinking, well, I'm a smart guy. I've sold a company to a Fortune 500 at an early age, and I've had some real estate success. And it really got me in trouble believing in my own press clippings. And then when I had a schedule that was unmonitored and I had plenty of money, that's a recipe for disaster. And what I needed was more advisors at that time. I needed more people around me to help me make better decisions. And quite honestly, Dan, it almost got me in real trouble. And so I would just suggest that you have an accountability group. Now, for about 28 years, I've been meeting every Friday morning at 6 a.m. with 3 guys, and they ask me these very pointed questions that hold me accountable. I have an accountability group inside of our organization that holds me accountable to the things that we talked about earlier. I have an advisors team and our facilitators that ask me very pointed questions, and I avail myself for them to ask any questions that they want. And that has served me so well. It's kept me from making terrible decisions. But when you're making those decisions alone, you don't have privy to many things that you need to know from those trusted advisors. And I would just suggest get that accountability group, get those trusted advisors, get that mastermind group in place, and it will save you from a lot of heartache.
And again, if you want to learn how to put something like this in place and get connected to an amazing community where iron sharpens iron, men or women or emerging men, go check out viewfromthetop.com. That's viewfromthetop.com. Speak to the elephant in the room, Aaron, on this idea. There might be somebody watching or listening. They might say to themselves, okay, well, Aaron, I appreciate that for others, right?
It's always
who
for
need that
others.
sort of support.
Right.
But I'm more free-spirited. I'm more intuitive as an entrepreneur. So having that type of tight accountability might limit my ability to really grow. Speak to that possible, I'll even call it out, misthinking.
Okay.
False belief.
Well, let's go back to the original group that I referred to earlier. When Dave Ramsey invited me to join his mastermind group, it's no secret I'm not sharing anything I shouldn't. Dave can pretty much do anything he wants to financially, right? He's got a company now that he's on 800 radio stations around the world. He has 1,000 employees. He could pretty much do anything he wanted to, obviously, right? Yet he elects to have a trusted advisor group, right? We were called the Eagles, and that's what we were called. And Dan Miller is another 48 Days to the Work You Love. Dan's been very successful. Ken Abraham has written over 100 books for Payne Stewart, Viente Fox, Joel Osteen, you name it. He wrote Lisa Beamer's book, Let's Roll. The list goes on. He sold millions, tens of millions of copies of books. He's a free-spirited kind of guy, and he's an artist, needless to say. Yet he chooses to have people in his corner, 10 people that advise him and give him feedback. Jeff Mosley's a good friend of mine, owned I&O Records. Mercy Me's one of his labels, very successful guy. He's an artsy guy, right? He's a record label. That's pretty artsy. He chooses to have people in his corner. See, because other people see you differently than you see yourself.
Yep.
And when you have these trusted advisors, it just makes common sense. Somebody asked me, how far back does Masterminds go? I said, well, Jesus had 12 around him, and he could probably done anything he wanted to do as well for those in the faith. But he chose 12 people to surround him ongoing to help him make decisions, right? It's the same. Listen, there's not a person listening to my voice that has all the answers, not one. And why would you not subject yourself to the scrutiny of other people that could help maximize your potential rather than trying to figure it out on your own and go down that path? The school of hard knocks is pretty tough, and sometimes it can knock you down. It can keep you there longer than you want to stay. I just elect to open myself up to a select group of people that can help me make the best decision, because if you have the general consensus of the multitude, more than likely they're going to give you good feedback.
And if you want good feedback, if you want to see your highest potential, if you want to get to that next level, find a way to connect to a group of like-minded people. Ideally, go check out what Aaron has put together at viewfromthetop.com. That's viewfromthetop.com. And I'll speak to, a real quick story. I had been a part of Masterminds, coaching, consulting, advisor groups, to the tune of almost 30 years now. And I remember in one group that I'd gotten, and I had sold a company, pretty substantial, was a, high 8-figure company, and I sold, and then I went through a serious depression. And rather than getting connected to the group, I disconnected out of embarrassment, out of humiliation. I thought I was the only one. I went into this place of isolation. I went through this for months and months and months, and it was a very hard time. And then I got reconnected. And it was one of the greatest learning lessons, because when I finally got truth, and I was able to be vulnerable enough to open and not let the voices get in my heart's way, I was able to share like what I was feeling, and literally 60% of the room was like, oh my God, we've been there. Why did you do this to yourself? And it cost me probably 6 months of pain, serious pain. I don't want to see that happen to you. And again, whether it's our group, whether it's Aaron's group, some group, get connected to a peer group, a mastermind concept. It will transform your life. It will transform your relationships. It will transform your business. Aaron, viewfromthetop.com. That's viewfromthetop.com. Check out what he's got available for you today. Now, Aaron, what would be 1 to 3 action steps that you would hope our viewers, our listeners would take from our time together?
Well, obviously, get involved in a group. And even if you can't afford to get in a group at this time, and many people tell me that all the time, and I always say, it's not an expense, it's an investment. And you're going to see returns like you never envisioned possible. So don't look at it as an expense, it's an investment. And the next thing, if you just say, I just don't have it, period, get an accountability group. Get 3 or 4 people that's in your community that you can meet with on a regular basis. Share your heart, and they can give you directions is the next thing that I would do. And then just simply avail yourself to the scrutiny of other people. And I do an exercise that you can do as well. I'll write out 10 questions, and I'll send it to people that know me the best. And I will say, how do you see me interacting with these people? How do you see me? Am I condescending? Am I arrogant? Or am I humble? Am I willing to take advice? I'll ask 8 or 10 very hard questions. And that will give you a sense of direction as to some of the things that you could do to possibly find some people in your community that you could associate with. Listen, I know that you think, well, you're just wanting me to get in your group. Get in any group. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, we're doing fine. I would love to have you. It's not for everybody. Our groups are not, because we're very regimented. We're very methodical. We get it done. If you don't show up, we ask you to leave. So we're not a coffee club. It's not for the faint at heart. It's for people that really want to move their life to the next level. So think through it. If you're interested, reach out to me at viewfromthetop.com. I'd love to have a chat with you.
And I want to encourage you, go check out what Aaron's doing. He's got fascinating tools, resources, strategies, of course, the mastermind, viewfromthetop.com. That's viewfromthetop.com. Aaron, it's been such a pleasure to have you with us today to share your wisdom, insight, all the amazing things that you're doing. I mean, you're changing lives, and what a gift.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it, Dan. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of the day.
You too. And I want to encourage you, take action with what Aaron has shared with you. Again, what would it be worth to have accountability day to day, right? Day to day, right? Iron does sharpen iron, day to day. What would it be worth to have peer support, to have trusted advisors, a board of advisors to help counsel you mentally, physically, socially, spiritually, emotionally, right? On business areas, personal areas, spiritual areas. How would it impact the game for you? And by the way, what's it costing you if you aren't and if you don't? Put two people side by side. Person A has this type of accountability, masterminding, whatever you want to call it, the support. Person B just kind of is a leaf in the wind trying to go at it alone, right? Which one's going to get the better results? I would vie for A. We want you to be an A. We want you to get the results. We want maximum success, maximum potential, the next level breakthrough. It starts with you. Make the decision. Find a way, whether it's Aaron's community, our community, some community, find a way. Go check out what Aaron's got at View from the Top. Thanks for being with us. If you want to come back to this episode, I mean, I've got 3.5 pages of notes here. You can come back to growthtofreedom.com/274. All the resources, all the links, all the bonuses that we've talked about are in the show notes, growthtofreedom.com/274. You never want to miss an episode. Go to growthtofreedom.com/subscribe. growthtofreedom.com/subscribe. Seize the day. Make it a great week, and we'll see you next time on growthtofreedom.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day, or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.